And look, just in the nick of time, here comes Dippity Dickhead. Mm, there we go. All right. All right. What's up, everybody, and welcome to this evening's Sports Dummies, where we like to talk about everything NFL, football, anything related to football, and we got a lot to talk about tonight. We got a full show ahead of us. We got picks ahead of us. We get to do the divisional picks. We get to do the national championship. That's going to be on Monday. So a lot to go over. Huge news all across the NFL that we get to talk about. So we're going to dive right into it. And with that, we're going to talk to our counterparts here, and Mike and Matt. Good evening, gentlemen. How we doing? What's going on?
What's happening?
What's in there, buddies? Well, chilly here in South Florida. Not like you guys chilly, but chilly by our standards. Hence the sweatshirt tonight. So, not having to put the heat in the house, which is, but tonight could be a candidate for some heat. We'll see.
Yeah, well, we were at 10 degrees yesterday, so we don't feel bad for you.
No, not at all. I'm not looking for pity, guys. Not going to get it.
So, Matt, you haven't been with us for quite some time, it seems. It feels that way anyway. So, we're glad to have you back, so we can tell you that your head is still huge and you're still ugly. So, now that news has been broken, let's talk about other news that has broke all across the NFL, primarily here in Pittsburgh, which a lot of us want to talk about, and that is Mike Tomlin, after 19 years of coaching the Pittsburgh Steelers, officially stepped down willingly, as some would call it, on Monday after Tuesday after the Steelers' loss to the Houston Texans. We are finally going to find out what football is like post Mike Tomlin. Let me be the first to say that even though Pittsburghers had a love-hate relationship, turning into a hate relationship towards the end of this tenure, let's make no mistake, we thank Mike Tomlin for his tenure here at Pittsburgh. He did do great things for us. He never had a losing season in the regular season, which is phenomenal by the standards alone, considering what the NFL is and has been for quite some time. He got us, if I believe correctly, one Super Bowl, two AFC championships, and 8 division titles. So a lot of us would say, if you look at the numbers, you would say that it's a Hall of Fame candidate coach. Us that have been here for quite some time, we're ready for the change because of the mediocrity over the last 10 years, especially the last 8, without having a playoff win. So, nonetheless, we still thank Mike Tomlin for giving us his time, giving us some good years. But also the excitement now for a lot of Pittsburghers is to see what is next in this chapter of the Steelers' history. So I'm excited for that. How do you guys feel?
Let me give you my real quick take. What I put out to a few people I talked to. I said Tom was a good coach. You don't have 19 straight winning seasons in a row without being one. Chad, you kind of hit on that.
Mm-hmm.
He won more with less the last few seasons, but he also could say he never won a damn thing with Ben's best years and the Killer Bees. So his word has gotten stale here in Pittsburgh, and he has pushed all his chips in this offseason. He traded for Ramsey, signed Rodgers, traded for Tin Hand Man, DK Metcalf. He fought once again with a team that his own words, may be the best defense ever assembled. 28th overall in the league. Cough. Remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I say good luck, Coach T. Thanks for your time. I'm surprised but not shocked. I can say I'm not excited. I'm excited and happy that he. I'm excited and happy, and we kind of knew this is coming. 3 of the 4 coaches in the AFC North. We said 4 could go. 3 of them went.
Right.
I finished this rant by saying this: what I don't want to see is any retread coaches brought into your organization whatsoever. I don't want to see a previous NFL head coach. Give me names like Clint Kubiak, Mike Minner, Chris Shula. A young, fresh, new hire, first-time head coach, clean house, start fresh. Hopefully, he retires, which he did very soon. Which I was kind of shocked that that happened that quick. And I was shocked the day it happened. I'm still kind of shocked because it actually did happen. But I think what I've learned the last few days, that there's 8 names already out there that we've sent offers to come in for interviews, and I understand there's gonna be 4 or 5 more. But from hearing Rooney speak, this is not going to be a rebuild. We're still going to try to win. So,
well, of course, he's going to say that because that's what the fans don't want to hear is a rebuild. So he's going to say everything except the R word. Reload is probably what they would like to say. Rebuild is what they're going to stay away from. For anybody who don't know who the Steelers have requested, these are the list of names. Iro Evero, which is the Panthers defensive coordinator. And this will go into the point that I'm going to make here next. Brian Flores, Vikings defensive coordinator. Jeff Hafley, Packers DC. Clay Kubiak, 49ers OC. Jesse Minter, Chargers DC. Nate Joel-Haas, which is a good name in Pittsburgh. Rams passing game coordinator. Chris Shula, as Mike, you pointed out, Rams defensive coordinator, and Anthony Weaver, Dolphins DC. If you've noticed anything about those list of names that I have just given you, 2 of them had something to do with the offense. The rest were all DCs. Why? You may be asking. Why? Because the Steelers have a type. Okay? Ever since Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and then Mike Tomlin, the 3 coaches that we've had in the last 60 plus years, there's been a type that the Steelers like, and that is young, in the mid-30s, defensive coordinators. So if you take all 3 of those and you factor in who might be the next Pittsburgh head coach, it could be anybody that fits that mold. Jesse Minter, Chris Shula, Nate Joel-Haas. I'm not sure the names on these other or the ages on these other guys. I know Brian Flores has been in the league for quite some time. You could probably count him out, at least as head coach. Will he make defensive coordinator here? Possible, but let that be known that the Steelers have a type. So if you're looking at somebody like Nate Joel-Haas, he's a long shot, right? Because he's the Rams passing game coordinator, which is an offensive-minded guy. Also, Clay Kubiak, OC for the Niners, offensive-minded guy. Those are the only 2 so far that are offensive-minded that have been sent requests from the Pittsburgh Steelers. So take that all with a grain of salt, how you want to see it, how you want to look at it. My take is on it. I don't think the Steelers deviate from what they've always done, and that is go young, and that is go DC. However, with the game that it is today, you need an offensive mind. I think they should take a swing at it and see how it goes, but that's neither here nor there until the decision's made.
Well, here's my Tomlin eulogy. I didn't get my chance at my parting shot.
Go ahead.
It's very difficult to not have recency bias and to not look at the last, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, pretty big sample size, and look at that and feel good about really any of it. So, granted, I know it's the win streak, consecutive seasons, and respect. The word respect gets thrown around a lot. Well, he's respected in the league. Well, he should be respected in the league. He's one of the few head coaches, first of all, that get that job. There's respect. He's one of the few coaches to have such a long tenure, very respectful, but that doesn't equate necessarily to success. You can be very respectful and still fail. Okay. And I respect somebody for trying. If they fail, it's okay. It's two different processes. Okay. So yeah, so I respect Mike Tomlin also. Am I thankful for the service? Did he do good things in Pittsburgh? Yes. But overall grade, it's not good. And it hasn't been for a while. So I'm glad it's over. I've been calling for it for years, several years also. So it's still an awful taste because I don't have any faith in a decision like you're suggesting that we change the overall approach of the organization and we don't go after somebody that is strictly defensive minded, knowing that the league is offensive now in nature. You have to stay with the times. Otherwise, you get left behind. And that's what's happened over the last probably better part of a half a decade or more, because we've been left behind offensively. So unless, this defensive coach coming in has offensive pedigree or is going to put coaches in positions like the offensive coordinator to run the offense and it's successful, then fine. But I just don't have any faith in the system because nothing really has changed other than now we've gotten rid of our third coach since the invention of the fucking pencil. So, I mean, that's just what it is. So let's see how it progresses on. I want to see Young, but I want to see a guy that's at least balanced and has offensive pedigree. I think that's going to be very important.
Well, I think they like to go young because of basically what we've had. We've had longest tenured coaches in the NFL. They want to go young because they want a guy in here that is 10, 15, 20 years going to still be with the program. But that also means we need to change with the program as well. So, the greatest thing about the Steelers is that we've had continuity. We've had consistency throughout our history. It's not like, the Jets or the Jaguars or the Bengals or whoever other teams that had 17 different coaches in the time that Mike Tomlin has been the head coach for one team. So I like the fact that we can sit here and say, as an organization, we've had three major head coaches in our entirety of our existence. I like that. I'd like that to be a fourth.
Listen, that's huge. And again, in its own, in a vacuum, yeah, nobody can say that. But the list of teams behind us that want to be us has shrunk. Okay. There are more teams ahead of us that we look up to. Oh, wow. We wish we had that guy. Oh, we wish we had that system. Oh, we wish we had that coach. Okay. There are many more teams ahead of us on all of these metrics right now than behind us. So, yeah, we can say that teams, want the consistency and they want the loyalty and they want, okay, but that's fine. You also want wins, playoff successful wins, meaningful wins, and an identity. And we don't have any of those and haven't for a long time. So I think across the board, in order for me to feel confident in the organization and saying that, okay, well, this is what we are, this is what we do, and this is what that has to stop. It has to be a different mindset. It has to be a different approach, almost a total reset. Not with the players necessarily. You keep a few, but everything has to be from this point forward. Nothing can be in the rearview mirror at this point, other than looking back and going, we're not going to be that anymore. That's just how I feel. So
yeah, I think of the names that the Steelers have already put out there. I think the leader in the clubhouse, there's probably 3 top candidates so far. We're going to have 4 or 5 more. Jesse Minter sticks out to me just because his pedigree, what he's done in the AFC North, what he's done with the Chargers, defensive coordinator Young in his mid to late 30s. Shore sticks out to me too. Pedigree with his father, what he's done. And the one interesting one who sticks out to me is Schulhaas. I just don't think he's battle tested enough, just being a passing game coordinator.
Right.
I don't think the Steelers would give him now. I wouldn't say I would be shocked if they try to bring him on as an offensive coordinator.
Which
you know what I mean?
Wouldn't be bad, yeah.
Right. Here's the good thing. So let's do a few podcasts today. Interesting note: the one guy said that everyone knows one guy who would be a great head coach for a team and probably have the most attractive assistant coaches come along with him would be Brian Flores.
Just going to say it, 100%. Yeah.
And I don't think that's going to happen here though, because he's already been an NFL head coach. But he could bring battle-tested guys as his coordinators, which we've been missing here for the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I'm excited about the opportunity. I expect a big change in the roster. That playoff game. Even think about it, it seems so long ago, but it was 7-6 going into the fourth, and we were so lucky because we were getting our ass kicked up and down the field. Rodgers had listen, everyone was on Broderick Jones all season. Troy Fulatanu was a turnstile that game. He was awful.
Right.
He was brutal. And the ineptness of DK Metcalf should put him on the trade block. I'm sorry. The guy's drop changed the game. Any momentum you had in that game, Rodgers hit him in stride, could have been a 30, 40-yard gain, possibly a touchdown. He drops the ball on third down. You know what I mean? And we know the game is a big ups and downs and momentum, and boy, the momentum just went out of ourselves in the second quarter with that. First quarter, it was just bad. I've heard people this week say the Steelers should go total rebuild. I don't think it's going to happen. You look at the defense, we still have a lot of young players on defense. We have a very young offensive line. But I still think there's going to be a lot of movement. It's going to be interesting to see what we do in the draft. Interesting to see what we do at quarterback, because Rodgers obviously isn't coming back. He's probably going to retire now. Cam retired. Thielen retired, which we expected.
Who retired?
Cam Hayward, Adam Thielen, which we kind of knew.
Oh, Hayward. Hey, I didn't see the Hayward news.
Oh, yeah, that was the day after. The day after Tomlin resigned. Hayward retired.
I didn't see that at all. I actually didn't hear anybody talking about that.
Yeah. Well, that's because the news is overwhelming. The same day that Hayward retired, that evening Thielen retired.
I had news on Thielen. I didn't have news on Hayward.
Oh yeah, Hayward retired that morning. Actually, about 11 o'clock that morning, he retired.
It's going to be very important to see what direction we go at that position as well. If we're drafting or if we're going into free agency, to maybe let Howard develop for another year, if we're confident in that process, that'll obviously be an important decision that they're going to have to make, that the new coach coming in is going to have to make, because he hasn't been with Howard. He doesn't know what he has in the building necessarily. So, that's going to be an important process.
The great thing is now, I think we can see myself, we've talked about this all year. I think the development of younger players at quarterback especially has lacked over the years. Tomlin's always tried to replace the quarterbacks with a Band-Aid. Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, who was great for all intents and purposes. He had a great year.
Mike, I don't know where you got your news. Cam Hayward did not retire yet.
Yes, he did.
There is nothing on Twitter saying that he is retired.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, 7 hours ago.
I saw Cam's response.
7 hours ago. 7 hours ago. Not yesterday, not the day before, 7 hours ago. The Fan is talking about, will Cam Hayward retire?
Yeah, they're the one who reported it.
Well,
there's another story from Mike that's saying right here that came out saying that he has not announced his retirement.
Oh, yes, they reported. That's what I heard.
Yeah, well, as I'm letting you know, there is nothing on Twitter, period, saying that he is retired.
Well, that's kind of like Harbaugh not signing with the Dummies yet. We know what's going to happen.
Well, so that's technically been announced. He's going to sign a 5-year deal. It's just I guess they haven't determined money yet.
It's right now in technicality.
Yeah,
which is weird.
Right.
Very weird.
There is no retirement.
Best part of the year, he probably should retire.
Well, again, we're not saying that he's not going to retire. I'm just saying it's not announced. It's not been made official.
I just heard it from Phil Tony and from the guys on the morning show. So, I mean, unless they were speculating, but they said he announced it. So, And then some little snippet which a press release that he had sent out. Unless it was fake news.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Chad, you hear his sound okay?
He was a little muffled there, but I got the gist of what he said. But yeah, there's 3 hours ago, Cam Hayward retiring is not off the table. 50-50 chance he retires. Not announced yet.
Right. Cool.
But anyway,
You want to break in?
but at any rate, we do suspect him going to retire, which we thought was going to happen anyway. Same with Aaron Rodgers. The only reason why he was probably going to come back, more than likely was going to come back. I think there was probably an 80% chance he was coming back if Tomlin had stayed one more year, but that obviously didn't pan out. So Tomlin steps down, and I hate to bring it up, but there's some pretty gnarly rumors right now as to why all of a sudden this was the year Mike Tomlin not retired, but stepped down. Some pretty gnarly rumors out there. I'm not going to put them out there because I don't know if they're true. They're not substantiated. If you want to look them up, be my guest. Go and look up those rumors.
Rumors to me are hilarious because some are bad. What's her name? The worst reporter in the league. You used to work for ESPN. She's just she keeps putting her foot in her mouth constantly. She was on the sport. What's her name? Josina. Hers was the worst. Anyway, I can't remember exactly how she worded it, but it was pretty bad. Trying to point blame at the city of Pittsburgh and the organization. It was actually kind of hilarious by her standards.
The rumors of why Tomlin stepped down has nothing to do with performance-wise. Let's put it that way.
No.
There's a lot to do with personal issues.
Bottom line is with him, though, he geared up his team to win this year by bringing all these veterans and Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Rodgers he put his stamp on the team. Saying that this is going to be the best defense ever. When he publicly said that, you can't back down from that. I mean, and guess what? He failed miserably with the team he wanted. So, I'm not going to badmouth him. 19 years great, but it's time to move on. We get a fresh start. We'll see what's going to happen. I'm excited for the future. So,
I'll badmouth him a little, but anyway. So,
but the only thing is that I hate to do it. I have to double back to what you were talking about here, Matt, and that is, the winning and stuff like that. If you look at it, the numbers, Tomlin, I think, is second, and that is 19 years for the most wins in the NFL. The problem is that, again, he only had one 9-8 season. The rest were 10 and above. But the problem is that they don't give accolades and awards and ribbons and trophies to regular season stuff. It's all postseason. Everything you get is postseason. The only thing you get to call yourself is a divisional champion. That is it. So you got 8 of those in 19 years. Okay, some would look at that as a problem. Others would look at that as a wonderful thing, like Cleveland, who's never won our division in probably the last 35 years. But
Mike Tomlin belongs in the Hall of Good. Okay, if there was such a because that's basically that's what it is. His success was good. You can't say it was great by any stretch. And obviously, we've been nothing above that. And obviously, you got to be fair. And like I say, recency bias, it's tough to avoid that, even though it's a pretty big sample size. But again, you have to look at the important stuff, the important wins, the important situational stuff. And just there's not enough of it.
I agree. You got to win. You got to win when you need to win, and that's the playoffs. Right. We've had an 8-year drought. Okay, but
take off your shoes. Okay, take off your shoes. Change your gun. You can come.
Okay, well, why don't you fix your audio and then you can talk? So,
32 out of 32 teams are in the league.
Yeah, your audio. Okay, you sounded better there.
Okay. Of the 32 teams in the league, there are 25 teams who have won the playoff game since we last did.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah. But again, to sit here and say that not having a losing season in 19 years is not remarkable, I think is
Oh, it's phenomenal.
putting it short. You know,
Right.
I
That's good.
and this was my argument 8 weeks ago, and I was high on this hill, but I look at it a little bit differently now, considering we get to look back and say what we had, not what we have, but what we had. What we had was never a losing season, and anybody out there, Mike, you fought me on this, but anybody out there would kill for a non-losing season, and I agree. I changed my tune on that now, but
So, Chaz,
this business is set on championships. Period. Point blank. If you don't win them, you got to go.
right, agree. The only other impressive stat I did hear, which I did not know, he only coached in one game in his career where the Steelers were mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Think about that.
I mean, that's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. All right. So let's talk about positive news right now. And that is John Harbaugh is, like we've said not that long ago, is set to be the Giants head coach for the 2026 season. Is there anybody else that can fall in a bucket of shit and come out smelling like roses? You want to talk about probably the most lucrative job right now in terms of the potential that you have and what could be is that head coaching position in New York right now with hi Diane, with the wide receiver that you have, the running back that you have, the quarterback that you have, the defense that you could have. They probably have the most potential
and the picks.
They probably have the most potential going into 2026. They might even be favorites going into 2026. At least, if not Super Bowl favorites, then definitely divisional favorites. What do you guys think? I think that this guy just hit the mother lode.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, from the Giants' perspective, they got the left tackle, they've got the running back, they've got a star receiver. Their front three on the defensive line is no joke. And in regards to question mark, if you've got faith in his ability to stay out of the tent, and actually play the position, with a little less abandonment, I think that, yeah, you're right. Maybe they're this year's Patriots where they drop, all these games last year. This is a stat I thought was crazy. The four of the playoff teams that are in the playoffs right now all had 12 losses last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. So that just goes to tell you that in the NFL, you can flip it in a year if
Right.
you've got the pieces in place and you make the right decisions. You hit it,
Absolutely.
and obviously and such like that. Unlike any other
Absolutely.
the other. So unlike baseball, where there's no star that hits the field day one from anywhere, the draft or college, and makes an impact. It's not like that. Basketball, same thing. So you're in the lottery in basketball forever. Same teams every year in the effing lottery. Why? Okay, well, there's a challenge. But in the NFL, it's different. You can go in one good season. The Giants, the coach, probably the quarterback, and the rest we talk. Giants certainly are in the mix next year. And the Eagles, they have an identity crisis. The Commanders, it's going to depend on their quarterback's health. And certainly, hopefully, they're going in the right direction. But they were also terrible this year and underperforming. So you're right. The Giants could be this year's Patriots.
They very well could be. We have a chatter who was in on the conversation when we were talking about Tomlin. Just to recap here, he says, screw that never losing season BS. That just means you've passed the test with a C or a B. Actually, I'll say a C. A B grade is a winning playoff games. Championships equals A. So he's not wrong. The chatter is my brother-in-law, J Ram.
All good, baby. All good, baby. That's where he's at right now. Put him on the wall. Put that plaque on the wall, baby.
Yep. And, the Giants get exactly what they've been looking for, and that's a leader, right? They thought they ended up getting all this great stuff. The franchise quarterback, potentially, as long, like you said, Matt, as long as he can stay out of the tent. A perennial Pro Bowl wide receiver, the front three, and the defensive. So all they needed was somebody to come in and say, "You guys are doing good, but let me show you how to do better. You guys have everything in place. Let me lead this team." And we've seen what Harbaugh can do. We've seen it year after year because he was in our division. Now that he's out of division, thank God, we're tired of seeing him. But you know, good for the Giants. I think they are going to hit a home run, bar none.
Yeah, I'm with you, Chaz. I think that was a great hire for them. I think it's a good move for him. I mean, like you guys said, what opportunity you're going to get where you have a franchise quarterback, a number one receiver, 3 good D linemen, a good left tackle, and a running back who could carry the load, and a ton of draft picks. So, no.
Right.
You mentioned, a lot of really, okay. Because again, we're kind of like, we put him and Tomlin sort of in the same place, but to me, the reason why that finally came to an end in Baltimore was definitely more Lamar Jackson and the relationship with what he has with the city of Baltimore. I mean, they're all. It was going to be much easier for them. Paul would have been to separate from Lamar Jackson. Every highway poster would come down, every billboard, they're so mutually tied into Lamar Jackson that to separate whatever.
We lost your audio there a little bit, Matt.
Sorry, my bad. Better?
Yeah, better that way.
So anyway.
Yeah, you boneheads better invest in some microphones. So, Matt, you had us a top 5 that you wanted to get to, right?
Yeah, rolling. Basically, opinion. My approach on my top 5 was more of whether they're events, changes, or whatever, scientific developments, how they impacted sports and the culture of sports and stuff like that. So I'll just simply start with my number 5. The impact of fantasy and gambling in sports. What are we doing right now? We're talking sports. The industry of fantasy sports alone this year, I've seen estimates somewhere close to $4 to $5 billion in fantasy sports. That's across the entire landscape. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of people making a lot of money too. It's a lot of jobs. It's a lot of it's an entire infrastructure, a network of sport of people that build that generate complete lifestyles. Can build wealth, their families, and everything else based upon fantasy sports. Something that was created for a bunch of guys to get in their basement once a year, drink a lot of beer, eat some wings, and pick a bunch of players. And who cares, right? Not anymore. It's developed into a science on every level. The gambling side of it is a whole other thing. The fact of the DraftKings, the FanDuel, every commercial you see is tied in. The NFL, baseball, every league is making billions off of the industry. So it certainly goes hand in hand. So, that relationships, those partnerships and the development of this whole different side of sports is just massive and continuing to grow. And it enables the platforms are endless. You basically can pick and choose whether you prognosticate and you have websites or podcasts like we do, and you're picking, daily stuff, or if you're in season longs or gambling or whatever, it's endless and it's growing. So just the impact of that in sports itself and the platforms that it's created for all of us to do what we do and others as well.
I like it, Matt. Good call. That's an interesting take on that. My top 5 was going to be. I'm going to talk about some of the top 5 playoff games that I watched personally. I'm going to go back a long time ago. The Bills Oilers, the 38-35 Frank Reich comeback, 31-7 going to halftime, and the Bills come back and win. unbelievable game against the Oilers, and I'll never forget it.
That's
Was
how I
sitting in
felt when I
Boca.
left
In Boca, probably
basement
6,
last
7
night.
years after I moved to Florida, I
This
was with
morning,
my
I
buddy
walked
Jared, and we were
acting like
sitting there watching the
couldn't
game
get
and
my
just in
arms through the
awe
door. I'm like,
over that game.
I was so
So,
fucking-
Probably the biggest win
I
in
was so
franchise
tight.
history since they never got to win a Super Bowl. You know,
right.
Yeah.
Frank Reich brings the Bills back. And what crazy stat, Frank Reich has the largest comeback bid ever in college and pro. He did it at the University of Maryland, and he did it in Buffalo in the NFL. So pretty interesting. So
wow, good stuff.
yeah.
All right. So, top 5 for me. I would think that. See, I'm probably thinking more recent than anything as far as top 5. And Matt, you said this could be more towards things that have changed the game, so to speak, right?
Could be any.
Innovations, right?
Based on
Innovations, anything like that. My thing is the sky cam, right? Looking at the game from a different perspective than just left and right. Okay, we get to see overheads, we get to see sideline views, things of that nature, and that just comes with more technology. As more technology comes, the better this game is going to look. Hopefully, it ends up clearing up some things that we have questions on and everything like that. But in the long run, I think that the sky cam is probably something that revolutionized the sport when it did back in, what was it, the late 90s or something like that, whenever it came out, after it had a test run through the XFL. So yeah, I would say that probably one of the bigger improvements in the game was the different angles and the cameras and the sky cam. So
Yeah, that's really good too. I mean, obviously the importance of being able to see the game from different angles, understanding, different responsibilities of different players on the field. You're not getting most angles where you're above the offensive and defensive line and the physicality of what that really is. When most of us chase the ball when we watch these games, whether it's in hockey or other baseball, you chase the ball, but so much goes on. 99% of the game is not the ball. It's every other part that you don't really get to see. So, yeah, that's a really good one, too.
all right. So let's just recap real quick what happened over this past weekend. The LA Rams and the Carolina Panthers. Tight one, which I think me and Mike kind of understood that this game was going to be a little bit tighter than what the spread suggested. The spread was actually 10.5 on this game. Mike, you thought that they were still going to beat them by 10 or more, but Matt and I knew better and figured this game was going to be a lot closer. Now, I will say at the beginning of this game, it was all Rams. And then towards the end, Carolina really, started closing the gap here and everything like that. So this turned out to be a really good game, even though the spread suggested that it wasn't going to be. It was going to be a blowout. And ironically, the only blowout we had this weekend was the Steeler game. So have fun with that little analysis there. But Matt and I were both on Carolina and the spread, and lucky for us, it happened. So Saturday night's NFC game with the Packers and Chicago. That was probably one of the best classic NFC North games that you probably have seen in quite some time. Almost reminiscent of AFC North games, right? Back in the day. Well, technically, not even back in the day. It was kind of like what we had at Pittsburgh 2 weeks ago when we played the Ravens. It was back and forth, a lot of scoring in the last couple minutes. Came down to the defense to make a stop. It was a great football game.
The Carolina game, because I want to chime in about that. If anything, it shows a lot of youth in Carolina, right? It shows their ability from their improvement from where they came from last year. And in all honesty, I still don't think they've got the right quarterback. Despite his I don't say inabilities, but maybe lack of maybe a low ceiling size wise. He's not your prototypical quarterback type thing. And again, maybe experience, other things. that team still made huge improvements. And I think that says a lot for them next year to continue on with who they have in place coaching. Hopefully they can get the most out of Bryce Young. Again, I just still think the ceiling is somewhat limited, but still the defense, the way they played, we're talking about their coach being a potential head coach candidate. So even if that doesn't happen, they're still in the right direction because the Rams are considered Super Bowl contenders. So they took their best shot a few times. And, but sound, we're good.
No, you're good. You're good. You're great. I was just going to interrupt you for a second there because I think I'm on the same page with you as far as not having the right quarterback in Carolina, because watching him during that game, even though he brought them back, I didn't see any type of angry fire in him, if you will. One of his players, I think he threw a ball, one of his players dropped it, and he just kind of smiled and turned away. I mean, it's a complete 180 of what you saw Rodgers doing in Pittsburgh on Monday night, where if somebody missed a play or dropped a pass, he was cussing you out. He was he was in your face. He was fired up. And I didn't see that from Bryce. So I'm almost wondering, like, is he too nice? Is this going to translate later on when, again, he's still a young guy, but you're the guy. You have to be able to tell these guys that have been in the league for 12 years, hey, shut the fuck up and listen to what I have to say. You need to have some cojones on you and get your point across, and if you're in there and you're preparing all week and somebody doesn't do something the right way, you need to get on their ass, not just go, oh, shucks, that didn't work out. Now did it? I mean, that's kind of how I felt he acted in that game at times. Instead of being like, hey, you dog-nosed dirt bucket, you need to get out there and go do something, So I think I'm on the same page with you in the terms of him maybe not being the right fit for that team, or him just maybe not being an NFL quarterback.
I think he's proven himself to be an NFL quarterback over the last 2 years. He's gotten better. But Chaz and Matt, I saw that same non-fire, if you will, from him too. A couple of times where you hit the guy in stride in the hands and no reaction because it dropped past. You know what I mean? Like, kind of awkward. I'm not going to say he's not the guy. He's improved. My big laugh of the whole thing you just talked about is teams giving their defensive coordinator interview for a head coach. Every year, the guy has had like 3 or 4 categories of the defense in 32nd or in the 30s or 32nd. So I think that's a joke. Now, he did make them an 8-win team this year, which is good. He helped make them an 8-win team. But, congrats on them winning the division because of some luck here at the end. But the Panthers, they have a quarterback. I'm not sure. I think they're on the right pathway, but some big news came out. I don't know if you guys heard this after the game. Dowdle said, I'm going to put myself out there in the free agent market because obviously I'm not getting the carries I should in Carolina because the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, I didn't hear that, but makes sense, right?
Yeah. It was, yeah. I mean, when I heard that was on one of the ESPN shows, the one with Ryan Clark and those guys talking. I guess he got a little snippet that, and I was like, wow. But listen, the NFL, it's a 2-back game most teams have now, How many teams really have that one ball carrier, unless you're the Giants or you have Saquon or you have, just a super stud like McCaffrey,
Right.
But
And
I get it.
even Saquon.
Yeah. Wise, I get it,
And Saquon struggled this year. The only true one back that I think that there was consistently this year was CMC.
He had something like during the game last week, he had something like almost 90 more touches as a running back and carries than the next best running back. I haven't looked that up, but I heard that. I want to know what his touches were with both catches and carries. It was phenomenal. His usage was amazing this year,
Yep.
So.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to be able to pull off that level of volume next year. Historically, you never see running backs handle that volume year after year. especially at his age, and especially with the injury history and the fact that he's had some pretty significant injuries in his career, So, that's a whole different discussion, fantasy wise, what his value is going to be. Wow.
Right.
I'm not going to be in next year probably on him. So.
Yeah, I mean the NFC South seems like it's in disarray every year. Somebody starts hot and then they collapse, and then it comes down to the last game and they still need help getting into the playoffs. So
those teams, 9 wins is the marker because
Right.
that's about what the team has had over the last 5 years.
Right.
So the 9 wins, you're in.
Yeah, you figure if you get a player like a Patrick Mahomes in the NFC South, they're going to rule that division until they retire, regardless of what team they have. Just as long as you
Didn't
get
you say something last week about different division champs in that division? There hasn't been a repeat champ in a long time in that division, or something like that.
Yeah, there hasn't.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a back-to-back champ, I think, in that division in quite some time.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's funny to say the least that that division and the way that Carolina even got into the playoffs. They got a number 4 seed by limping their way by losing the last game of the year and then having their divisional opponent win to get them into the playoffs. It's the most NFC South thing that you could ever do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So anyway.
Imagine the NFL added a game to their season. We sort of in our 3rd year of that new change now. And look at the additional drama that it creates each of the last couple of years, still coming down to the last week and, just 100 different scenarios. And they could have a 20-game season. It would still end the same way. So it's parodies. It's insane in the NFL.
Yep. And, Matt, like you said, there's 4 teams in the playoffs right now that had 12 losses last year.
It's insane. I mean, that's something.
I don't want to double back on the whole Pittsburgh thing, but this is kind of like Pittsburgh almost wants to suck for a year, so we can get an all-star guy in the draft, because the standard is the standard turned into mediocrity at its best, and that's basically what that standard is the standard meant. The standard is the standard was the equivalent of we love mediocrity. Because when you finish every year picking in the last 20 to 25 every single year, there's no change in your team, really. You got to rely on your older guys, your vets, and guys that you can pick up in free agency that aren't expensive. And this is why Steeler fans are kind of saying, we're okay if we suck for a year. We're actually fine with that. But get us somebody. Get us, we're not going to find a franchise quarterback, even though there has been some, but we're not going to find a franchise quarterback in the back end of the draft, right?
Right.
Or in the later rounds of the draft. Now there has been some. I'm not saying it can't be done. There have been some that have been found, but you strike more gold at the beginning than you do at the end.
Yeah. Remember the last high draft pick we had as a quarterback was Ben, so that turned out well for us.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, again, it matters where you end at the end of the year, and if you keep consistently limping into the playoffs and losing the first round, you're guaranteed in the mid-20s, which isn't going to get you anything fantastic. And it just so happens that this year we are bankrolled in draft picks. So the new head coach that is coming in here is going to get basically the pick of the litter, right? Which is very exciting. With 12 draft picks, we can use those draft picks to our disposal, whether we want to move up, move down, package them for a player, whatever the case may be. But still good news, I think, for a new head coach coming in here that may want to run this team how he sees fit. My only thing is give Will Howard a chance. I understand that he's not your guy, your pick, but neither was Trevor Lawrence, and look what Liam Cohen did to that guy. made him almost a freaking all-star. But again, that's because of good coaching and a good leader. So, yeah, that's my take on that one too.
Real quick, boy, the Bears. You mentioned it, Chaz, the Bears-Packers game. Wow, what a comeback! What a comeback!
That game was remarkable, dude.
I mean, what a weekend for football, by the way. Great games across the board. I mean, if you're a football fan, this is what we live for. Wow, just fun. I think we were texting.
Right.
What another great game! What another great game! Just
yeah. I mean, all weekend we said, these games have been the best, and then we got to the Steeler game, and we were like, well, there it went. There went the perfect weekend.
Yeah. I expect.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all expected it, but to lose to the way that we did, not scoring a touchdown. I think everybody on their boards had at least the Steelers scoring at least one score. And they didn't even do that, which, again, that game, if you look at it, was 7-6 until what, the fourth quarter?
Into the fourth quarter, yes.
7-6. So realistically, the Steelers were still in that game until the final 10 to 5 minutes of that game. The end of the last 5 minutes of that game really took that over. That was when they had the pick six for a touchdown. They had the fumble recovery for a touchdown. Oh, okay, yeah.
But you know what, though?
There was
the actual
actually
score that wasn't what the game really was. Even at 7-6, it didn't feel like it was 7-6. It felt like we were just beat both sides. We talked about it.
Well, here's the thing, too, Matt. You can't have 3 touchdowns or 3 turnovers and only 6 points. You got to be able to turn those points into scores of some point, and you couldn't do any of that. That was the biggest reason why you lost the game. It wasn't towards the end of the game when you threw an interception for a touchdown. It wasn't the fumble recovery for a touchdown. It was the fact that you had 3 turnovers before the fourth quarter, and you had 0 points to show for it.
You can circle one stat. One stat shows why we lost, and it's very simple. 1 for 15 on third downs on the offense. I think they were 9 for 15 on defense. The Texans were 9 for 15 converting on third down. It was absurd. We could not get off the field, and we could not stay on the field. But I think we were 3rd and 12 14 times. You're not going to win games like that, especially with an offense built like ours. So, dink and dunk.
Yeah, I agree. Matt, why don't you tell us number 4 on your top 5?
I like it. Now, number 4 for me, again, my angle on this list was to give, I feel like, the impact of what these things did. Not necessarily how I feel about them or if I like it or if I don't, but more of what the impact was. Here's an example for number 4. The NFL is super smart. We know that, right? They're the king. I mean, there's a reason why they pretty much run the world, in my opinion, for the sports world at least. They get to move games around whenever they want to, flexing and whatever else they decide to do. Pretty much if there's any sort of major NFL slate of games, the NBA takes a back seat. Certainly baseball doesn't even coincide with the NFL. So NFL is king. So what have they done? In 2009, they made sure they had you right where they want you, which is on your couch, because they came up with the Red Zone channel. Now, here's what the Red Zone channel is to me. I love it, okay, because it gives me the ability to stay home, and I have the convenience now of being able to pretty much watch every game, okay, anywhere in the country at any time, as long as I've got the Red Zone in the package, okay, the Red Zone. Now, what that does essentially is, how most of these companies make their money is through advertising. So what they're doing essentially is they've got you on your couch for, 4 hours, 7 hours, 10 hours if you're lucky. And what are they doing? They're just bombarding you with advertisements and persuasions and influences on, again, things relative to sports and football mostly. But what did we talk about earlier? Fantasy sports, gambling. How many DraftKings commercials do we see during the day in Red Zone, FanDuel, Hard Rock, MGM, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? So granted, I get out of it the convenience and the ability to have access to things we didn't have before, but there's always a cost, and that cost is influence, that cost is manipulation, that cost is control. over potentially what you're watching, how you're watching it, and how it relates to what they want to illustrate as what's important to them. So I don't know, just a little spin on that for me. That was my number 4.
Chess. Okay. I'm going to say, since I'm sticking with my top 5 playoff games, which I liked, a couple of years ago, the Bills-Chiefs rivalry escalated into bad coaching, losing it for the Bills in Kansas City, giving me a last-second drive with 20 seconds left to win the ball game. I mean, Mahomes and Allen, that rivalry has escalated into one of the premier in sports. And now that Allen and Mahomes, Jackson and Mahomes are both out, to me, this is the year where he really has to win. This is an opportunity to win for him. So that's just my take on the Bills. And I think you guys remember that game. It was back and forth, 38-35, phenomenal game. So
I like their path, the Bills. When we talk about the games, I agree with you. I strongly believe that this is the best opportunity that they have, even looking ahead at this point for Buffalo to make a run. So we'll see how that works.
So, I don't really have a top 5 for this because I've been kind of flying off the cuff. But I would have to say I'm going to actually mix in innovations in sports and playoff moments, just because it's my top 5 and I can do what I want. So shut up. But my number 4 is being downtown Pittsburgh. Yeah,
I like it.
Being downtown Pittsburgh when the Steelers won their 5th Super Bowl. It was snowing out. The city went crazy. I was right down the street from the Cathedral of Learning at Pitt when the Steelers won their 5th Super Bowl. And we all took to the streets, bus. And you could even say that game, not only for my personal experience of being downtown and being around, all the people and celebrating and stuff like that, but the bus being able to go out his own way, right? Big Ben told him at the end of last year, I'm going to get you there. And, don't you worry about it. Stay for one more year. I'm going to get you there. And he held up his end of the bargain and he took him there. And, they ended up winning the Super Bowl. A lot of things almost happened to where they couldn't have made that Super Bowl. Jerome fumbling at the Indianapolis 1-yard line. Big Ben making that shoestring tackle to save that game. I just think that being a player from a certain hometown and being able to end your career in that hometown in the biggest game of them all and riding off into the sunset, probably no cooler way to end your career or your story. Or in wrestling, we talk about finishing the story with Cody Rhodes, right? Well, Jerome Bettis did it his way. He finished the story his own way, and I thought that was pretty cool. So that's my number 4.
I like it. Hey, you know what, Chaz? You're right. It is your list, buddy, and you can do whatever you want with it. So,
thank you for acknowledging that. Because over here we only talk about straight facts, right?
That's it. That's all we talk about.
It's all
and
facts.
Some not.
Yeah, it's all facts except when it's not. So, in that terms, it was facts. Yeah. But let's talk about the Sunday games since we talked about the Saturday games and we hit on those for a little while. Let's talk about the Sunday games that happened. The Buffalo Bills and the Jacksonville Jaguars. A lot of people thought that this game was going to be an absolute blowout. The Bills were going to steamroll the Jaguars. I kind of thought the same. I thought they were going to collapse because the pressure may have gotten too much for the AFC South Jaguars, and the brand new territory for them, right? They won a division. They were the top team in the AFC South. They get to the playoffs. Trevor Lawrence has never been there. The team hasn't been there and God knows how long. Liam Cohen's first year as head coach. And it's hard to say that Jacksonville, I mean, you could probably easily say that Jacksonville should have won that game. I mean, it was what, 10-7 for a good portion of that game before going into the second half of that game. A shock, really, in terms of what the Jaguars did this year, how they performed, and just an all around, just a fantastic season for them. It begs the question now, Mike, is that we talked about this before. If this little science project of Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence, because we both thought Trevor Lawrence is out after this year. There's no reason for him to stay. He's played his entire career there. He hasn't done anything over there. They got the most that they could out of this kid. He's not going to do anything else. He can't win games. He can't win championships. This and that. Looks like we're wrong again, bud. At least for now, because Jacksonville has showed us that he can play, he can win games, and they won the AFC South. So maybe Liam Cohen is going to stick with Trevor Lawrence, probably moving forward, and I don't see why he shouldn't at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think that he kind of lit a fire under him. He looked like a totally different quarterback under Cohen, especially in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
So I'm with you, Chaz. Yeah.
I think up there between Lawrence and his abilities and the success they had this year, they're going to build off of that. They, again, roster-wise, they've got a good team, not a great team. So another year in the draft and another year of experience, it just kind of felt like that in that game, Buffalo was going to come back because Jacksonville never really put their foot on their throat. And again, it's hyperbole, whatever that term is.
Hyperbole.
That too. Puts on it. He's too. Until it doesn't happen, and unless it's not against Patrick Mahomes, I mean, he was 28 of 35 in that game last week. Now, Shakir had, 12 catches in that game? But he hit 8 other receivers. He had 9 guys catching the football, and he was completing passes at an 80% clip. So there's no question that Josh Allen right now, to me, is the best quarterback standing left out of every quarterback that's on both sides, almost even as much as Stafford, just because I still think of the mobility and the way he creates. But that's a huge advantage. And the quarterback, we talked about it again ad nauseum. The quarterback, and they got the best one left, and it's his time. So
right.
We talked about, again, the game.
Big question here, because I think me and Mike are on a kind of the same page on this. Big question here. If the Bills don't win the Super Bowl, does Mike McDermott get fired?
I don't think so.
I think he should.
That's a different question. Then there's 2 questions. Yes, I would easily point at their deficiencies, which are consistent. Again, not having a solid receiving core. But again, that's not their style of offense. They run a lot of multiple tight end sets. They have good ones. What bothers me a little bit is their running game with Cook has been a little bit not there the last couple of weeks. Even in this game, I think he had 40 yards on 14 or 15 carries. Game for that, not so good either. So they're a running team. Okay, they run the most out of any team in the NFL. It can't just be Josh Allen. Cook's got to get started. They've got to win battles up front and let Josh be Josh. And he was about as good as it gets last week. So, for me, McDermott, I think so. I think he's still safe.
I'm kind of thinking that he gets let go after this year because of all the hype that has been around that team for the last 3 years. And their biggest nemesis, Patrick Mahomes, isn't even in the playoffs. So, like you said, you think that Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the playoffs currently on both sides of the coin here, AFC, NFC. Then if that's the case, then I don't see any reason why you bring Mike McDermott back next year if they don't win the Super Bowl this year. He's had his chances. He's had his time. Sean McDermott, whatever. They're the same guy, really, if you look underneath the hat. But there's no reason why you keep this guy if they don't win at all, because of the fact that there's nothing stopping them, so to speak. And you could have said that 3 years running, that they should have beaten when they never did. Well, now they don't have to worry about that. So I see this as kind of like a Jim Harbaugh or a John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin situation. You win, you stay. If you don't, you're out.
Yeah, we're in the same boat there, Chaz.
But this is where I'm going to just push back, and then we can move on to the actual games. Firing coaches is easy. Hiring the coach to replace him is very difficult. And right now, to do that, I mean, you've already got a couple of coaches that have gotten hired, like Harbaugh, and I'm sure there'll be some others. By the time the Bills have to make that decision, first of all, what coach is going to be left? And secondly, you have to look at the relationships that he has now with the most important player in that team, which is Josh Allen. And those guys are solid right now. McDermott and Allen, they're almost probably sleeping together. That's how close they are. And, to break up that relationship as well. When you have success, it's tough to point. It's not like our situation where we haven't had any success. That's success. They could just point out to what we had said that, well, who really has beaten Patrick Mahomes? The ones. Why are we the standard that are being ostracized because we can't get past them? Well, guess what? Nobody else did either. For all those years when they had their run. So it's a little different situation. And again, it's the firing part's so super easy. The hiring part and getting it right, not the same. So that's something to consider. In this
I agree. I mean, you're still going to have to, because there's still going to be a lot of teams that are going to wait until the very last moment to probably hire a guy. I mean, look what happened with the Saints last year. They put all their eggs in the Kellen Moore basket, and they won that battle because they had to wait for him to finish with the Super Bowl to even interview him, let alone anything else. So last year was kind of the same thing, with the Saints, that it's going to be for everybody this year. There's still going to be guys, especially over there in LA, who can't take interviews until their season is over. So, the Schulhouse and who's the other one? Is Kubiak on that Rams team too? So those two guys can't even talk to anybody yet because they're still in the hunt. So if teams that are sitting here, like the Steelers, for example, just because we're here, if they want Clay Kubiak as their next head coach, they're not going to announce him until February. But I do understand what you're saying as far as the firing is easy, hiring is the harder part. You need to find a guy that kind of you like, that you mesh with, that has all the intangibles and everything like that. I get all that, but you still got to take swings too.
Yeah.
So, our chatter here says that Trevor Lawrence is the equivalent of I'm going to say, I think it's Fabio, not Furio. Oh, no, it is. Furio and Carmela Soprano's love child. So if you watch The Sopranos, you know who Furio is and Carmela. So that's Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence to me is he's like a Barbie doll. He's a male Barbie doll. So yeah, what are you saying there, Mike? I had you muted.
Is that John?
Yeah.
Tell him he's swimming with the fishes if he keeps saying stuff like that. Trevor Lawrence is going to go.
Yeah, he's going to swim with the fishes. So moving into the 4:30 game was the 49ers and the Eagles. To me, no surprise here. The Niners, ended up beating on a team that we thought didn't look right all year. It looked like the A.J. Brown and Nick Sirianni saga had reached its peak on the sideline of that game. They were all barking at each other in the middle of that game on the sideline there. Tough loss for the 49ers, though. George Kittle out for the rest of the year, Achilles tear. Probably going to miss all, if not most, of next year. It's a tough injury to come back from. We've seen it time after time. Rodgers being one, Kirk Cousins being another. I think Tank Dell, he didn't tear his Achilles, but he blew out his knee last year. He still wasn't back this year. So, some horrific injuries that are happening. So George Kittle, we might not see him next year. But nonetheless, hopefully he gets better soon. But my takeaway from this is that the 49ers did exactly what I thought they were going to do on a banged up, lost Philadelphia Eagles, who I didn't think was gonna do well in this game anyway.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The Eagles just too much disconnect in-house, and it showed because then it was not in-house anymore. It was on the sideline, like you said, and other things. Their offense struggled. I mean, it was easy to see things starting to come apart, and they didn't have any real answers. Barkley wasn't the same, and a bunch of other things. Yeah, so the Niners were a better team. They went in and they won.
Yep. And then
let's not forget, fellas, Demarcus Robinson. He had half his yards of the year in that game. It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Six catches. What did he end up? 6 catches, 111 yards, and a touchdown. The guy had 276 yards all season.
Yeah, 6 for $111 and a touchdown.
Yeah. So, and as far as the AJ Brown saga, the Eagles are in a bunch of trouble right now with him because everyone's saying, "Oh, they could trade him." Let me tell you something. He's worth $70 million cap hit in dead cap hit money.
But listen,
that's
Mike,
crazy.
They can get rid of that. If they want to get rid of him, they can get rid of that. I promise you, they can get rid of that because all they have to do is rework that deal, just like they did with Kirk Cousins in Atlanta, and you can bet your ass he'll be shipped out of there.
You're right. The problem is they've done that so many times the last few seasons. They're already $50 million behind the 8 ball next year's cap. That's their problem. I agree with you. They could work it out, and someone probably would want it. I wouldn't want him on my team though. He drops big balls a lot of times.
I mean, this is two. I was going to say, is this the second failed team right now? You could say.
Yeah, the Titans and the Eagles. Yeah.
And the Titans, they did that under the table behind closed doors at midnight.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So it's a pattern we're having with this guy. Do you want to trade for him, making that kind of money? I don't know, man.
I don't. Yeah, that's a fair analysis. Not interested.
I bet you Mark Davis would do it.
Oh, agreed, Chaz. He's a Raider type guy.
And not to mention, too, you're right. He's a Raider type of guy. But again, the Raiders need a guy. So why not go ahead and trade for a guy like A.J. Brown, who commands the ball at all times? Well, guess what? Go up and eat there, young man, because that's all you can do up there because they got nobody else to throw to besides Bowers. And you can't rely on Bowers every play anyway. So why not have somebody else out there that you could throw to?
And someone to help you that you really dropped to number 1. So, in all intents and purposes, it seems like.
Yeah, you were real chopped up there.
I said, in all intents and purposes, that you get AJ Brown type, he would help that number 1 from Mendoza. It looks like it's going to be,
No, not really, because I still didn't hear you. I tried muting Matt because I thought his audio was maybe interfering, but I think you need to tap on your speaker. Again, guys, get with the times over here, okay? Get microphones. So, Sunday night, the 8 o'clock hour, the Chargers and the Patriots played. And Matt, I just have one question for you. The score was 16-3. Where was your top third? What was your top 3 quarterback at?
Oh, come on. It can't be on him. You watched the game. That was a beatdown. That was a defensive domination game. The Chargers were a problem. The Chargers were limited. But that's not all on him.
Listen,
they lost.
You have better excuses. You sound like the Mike Tomlin of the sports dummies. That's all I'm going to say.
We're lucky we can't hear you right now.
You sound like the Mike Tomlin of the sports dummies with Justin Herbert.
I can't believe
Excuses.
whatever. He's still a top 3-4 quarterback in the league.
Out of here.
Well, if he was a top 3 quarterback, he would have led his team to victory because he's a top 3 quarterback.
Maybe not. Depends on the situation. I'll give you many examples where top 3 quarterbacks don't win their football games. So it's football. It's not table tennis.
I could give you plenty of examples of a top 3 quarterback winning those games.
Yeah, I understand. You think Caleb Williams is a better quarterback than Herbert? Because all Caleb Williams this year, or all the Bears have done this year, won every fourth quarter game they've had to. So if that by assessment purposes only, you think Caleb Williams was like Johnny Unitas?
No.
He's not.
No.
So
no.
It all depends on what you're doing and how you're seeing it and the eyeballs. And what I don't get to see, every executive has said, is that they're the ones that are putting him on the top of their list. So it's not because I have his poster in my bedroom, even though I may have something under the bed. Ultimately, it's the NFL executives that are the ones telling you that, yeah, this guy's got all the intangibles, all the traits, all the skill and the ability. And it's just, again, circumstantial. It's not just wins and losses necessarily or playoff in this situation. It's just, this is the guy. Put him in the right spot, and its ceiling is unlimited. And I believe it. I do. So.
Well, in terms of this game went pretty much exactly how I thought it was going to. I thought it was going to be a low scoring game. It was. I didn't think it was going to be that low, but it was definitely still low. And the outcome was what I thought it was, and that was the Patriots gonna beat up on the Chargers, because I still in my mind I still think that the Patriots here are probably going to end up being the AFC representative on the Super Bowl end. This outcome to me was no different than what I thought it was going to be. So the last game was Monday night, and that was the Steeler game, and we had talked about that ad nauseum at this point anyway. So we're just going to go ahead and just call that game what it was, and that was a loss for the Steelers. So we're going to talk about the divisional round, but before we get there, we're going to go ahead and jump back into the top 5.
Okay, I'll go. Number 3 for me. Cheating. Okay. Everybody cheats, right? We cheat on our spouses. We cheat on our taxes. We cheat on our entrance exams. We cheat on just about everything, right? But the one place, and it's a saying, that you're not supposed to cheat is where? In sports. There's no cheating in sports. Well, a couple of years ago, a baseball team decided to cheat. Now, again, in baseball, other sports, I mean, the cheating is kind of relative, right? It's not, you can say definitively that this is cheating because they accept stuff in baseball, like example, stealing signs. Hey, stealing is in the term, stealing signs. What are you doing? You're stealing their signs. You're knowing what they're going to do because for whatever purposes you've used technology, I'll get to, you went to the extremes to find out what the other team is doing to get an edge. Okay, it's all about getting an edge. So the Houston Astros in the World Series decided to take that on a whole nother level. And they broke out some trash cans. And they trash cans to basically come up with a whole different language, dialogue, whatever you want to say on what the pitchers are going to throw, off speed, change up, whatever it would be. But they're banging trash cans, and they got caught. Now, I'm not going to go back and beat up the Houston Astros. I'm going to just attack where I feel like this is a problem. Because, again, what are we saying? No cheating in sports. They cheated on the biggest of stages. Okay, the biggest of stages, the World Series. Almost, you could say, decided Eric was a huge instrument in the outcome. But yet, they let it go. They slapped the owner on the hands. They gave him a fine. They did some other things. But they got to keep the hardware. There's champions, right? So we said to everybody in the world that they cheated and they took it to the extreme, and we caught them, and they got busted, and we punished them monetarily. But you know what? You guys are still the champs. I got a problem with that. The message itself is that you can't be okay with something that's wrong in certain circumstances and situations just because you feel like it should be permitted. Cheating is cheating, no matter how you look at it. Okay. And there's other sports. There's been the videotaping scandals in New England. And then there was the same thing in New England with the snow game and the kick. Okay. The eyeballs don't lie normally. Okay. And in this case for Houston, it was the ears because they were banging stuff. But cheating is cheating. And whether it's in life or in sports, there should be consequence. And in this case, I don't feel like there was enough. And I think the message overall, it wasn't a good one in culture and in sports. So that's how I feel about the Houston effing Astros. F the Astros.
All right. My number 3, is that where we're at? Number 3, correct me if I'm wrong, is only because of the situation, and it was a big game for the Steelers in their history. The Colts-Steelers AFC Championship game. Bill Cowher gets the Steelers to the Super Bowl. And, Matt, you remember that day. We watched the first half of the sports ticket. Chaz, we leave. Matt says we're going 5 minutes away to my parents' house to watch the rest of the game. Chaz, it's 5 miles away. It's over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house we go. I'm like, are we ever going to fucking get to this place? We get there. The whole family's there. They're eating meatball and spaghetti with their hands, okay? Because they're a bunch of animals. They're hovering around the TV set, and we're there. Everyone's eating a big Italian dinner, and we're there, like, groping on the couch on the floor, and we're going nuts because we're like, holy shit, this game's coming down to this last drive. Everyone's making comments, and we're all like, shut up, we're watching the game. But we got there, and we won, and we made it to the Super Bowl. It was a great, great win for us. But what a day. I'll never forget that. I was like, I'm going to kill you. Where are we going? I think that was the first time I was ever at your parents' house. So,
in the end zone, too. It looked like it was, and we weren't sure. We were on the floor, I remember. And going, oh, my God, jumped up and screamed. It was a whole big thing. Then we had meatballs. You're right after. So
meatballs,
nice.
Right. Then we had meatballs, yeah.
Meatballs, can't go wrong.
Exactly. So, great day, good memory, though. Funny as hell, though. Matt, where are we? It's just, if I get 5 minutes from my ass.
Yeah, that's right. That's because we lived all the way out there at the end of Palmetto Park Road. And that stretch, it's a few miles.
Yeah, good old West Boca.
Well, I got my number 3, and I don't think anybody can deny it. The greatest invention known to man, the wheel. This was probably something that changed everything from what we know today. All right, the wheel being the single-handedly the greatest thing next to fire, but wheel is definitely up there. So my number 3 is the wheel, because without it, we just got your head there, Matt, and we just don't
Matt's
know.
thinking of wheels of cheese, Chaz. That's what Matt is thinking of, wheels of cheese.
Well, he's thinking about, did my mouse fall off the wheel in my head? All right,
I love it.
So let's talk about what we have coming up, and that is the NFL Divisional Playoff Round, which starts tomorrow. First game kicks off at 4:30 on CBS. We can watch the number 6 ranked Buffalo Bills go into the number 1 ranked Denver Broncos, the 1 seed Broncos. And I have to pull up the spreads here.
1.5 and 45.5.
You don't tell me what to do. I'll tell you what to do. All right. Now that I'm here, the spread is minus 1.5 to Denver. Okay. And 45.5 overall. So Buffalo Bills are going to get 1.5. This is basically a pick 'em. Weather looks to be about 40 degrees and fair 45.5 is what they're calling for as an over-under. Matt, what do you think about it?
I like the Bills. I like Josh's, like we said, best quarterback standing. There's a reason for that, and he's playing well. The Broncos' offense has been a little questionable at times. So that's not to be said. The defense is so strong. Good football game, guys. But honestly, I think if you think the Niners have a chance this week in Seattle, and I somewhat think they do, 4 live dogs this weekend. So, and this is a dog. Buffalo's a dog. They're a 1.5 dog. I like Buffalo. I just think experience and the fact that, again, they got Josh Allen, anything is possible. So I'm just going to keep it simple. And I got Buffalo in the over in this game.
Okay, Buffalo in the over.
I am with you, Matt, on Buffalo. But I think Denver's defense keeps them in it, and it's a close game. I like the under in this one, so give me Buffalo and the under.
Matt, I'm going to ride with you the whole way. I like the over in this game. I told you from the start, I don't think the Broncos are going to get very far. I think this is a one and done for them. I don't like their offense. It's very inconsistent. They find a hard time scoring points. I think they do score points. I think it's enough to score enough points for them and the Bills to get over. But I just don't like Denver in this scenario. I haven't all year. So I'm on the Bills, and I'm going to take the over, mainly because I'm banking on Josh Allen and the Bills to score more points. So here's an interesting game, though. The NFC Divisional round at 8 o'clock on Fox on Saturday. You got the sixth-ranked 49ers going up against the one-ranked Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. Seattle's going to give 7. That's a lot.
Wow. Big number.
That's a huge number. I don't know if the Seahawks are 7 points better than the Niners. Matt, what do you think?
What's the over-under?
Over-under is also 45.5.
Again, maybe on paper, the spread's pretty fair. And the reason why I'm going to say this is because, their defense is so good, Seattle's, and they're going to put Purdy in some pretty tough spots. And if you look at his metrics that matter, like fourth quarter metrics and stuff when they're behind, they're not good. Like his passer rating is subpar. His touchdown interception ratio is subpar. And that's with all their pieces. They're a healthy team right now. But that's just kind of his track record. I think they fight early. I think this is a game where you're going to see competition early because I think Shanahan's super smart and they're going to come up with a good game plan. But I think when the talent and the defensive pressure from Seattle starts to really, really kick in and start to maybe dominate their will, which they've done all year, it's going to be on Purdy to create and be really good in those spots where he hasn't been. So I think the line is good. It's a big one. It seems a little gross. And you know what? I said 4 live dogs. I'm going to go back and say there's 3 live dogs. I think it ends this week for the Niners. So I'm going to play it. I'm going to lay the points. I think that number is a little too high. So I'm going to go under. Seattle in the under in this game.
I don't know if you guys saw the injury that popped up. The oblique injury to Sam Darnold.
I did see that. I did.
McDonald said he's optimistic that he will play. That doesn't bode well for Darnold. He had that same injury earlier in the year that nagged him. So it's interesting. I think that number's a little big, though. 7 points in this game. The thing that worries me is San Francisco only has 20 sacks. 20 sacks. That's kind of crazy. And with Will and some players out and Kim out now, that kind of worries me. But San Francisco has something going. You hear me?
Barely.
Chance?
Smack your mic or hit your computer or something. Yeah.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay. I'm taking the Niners. I'm giving me the under, though, in this one.
not getting pressure there in that situation is big because Seattle gives up the least amount of sacks too. So Darnold's going to have time. The Darnold injury, though, the line hasn't moved. So
Right.
there's no significance to that at this point. Now, certainly if he's not going to play, that line changes. But to this point, that news hasn't really moved the needle at all. So, that to me, that's the indicator. If you wake up and the line's 4.5 or whatever the case, then you're like, oh shit, he's probably very questionable and may not even play. So to me, that'll be the tell.
For me, I'm getting 7 points in a divisional playoff round. I think it's a no-brainer, especially considering that most of these games are close anyway. So you're going to give me 7 points. I'll take the 7 points. Give me the Niners, and I'll take the over in this one. I think both of them find ways to score points and score enough to get over. I'm thinking it maybe be about 48 points instead of under the 45.5. So I think 48 points. And just so you know there, Matt, the 76% of the bets and 70% of the money is on +7 for the Niners. The next bout that we have to do is talk about the number 2 on the top 10 or top 5 list, not top 10. Jesus Christ.
You don't throw it at me.
All right, I'll go. Number 2. Not one of my strong colors in my color wheel, so I have to rely on what I'm told here for this reference. You'll understand when I tell you what number 2 is for me. The NFL, the whole injury thing, we're talking about it right now. We talked about George Kittle and how catastrophic the injuries are. And it just seems like now, year after year, these injuries are getting so significant and just such big name players across all the sports, all the platforms. And, they've done so much in football, especially with the equipment changes and concussion awareness, and that's spilled over into other sports. But, the interesting part about football right now, and this is a thing now because everybody talks about it, is the invention for the NFL to have the blue tent. Everybody's talking about the blue tent, right? Now, I've seen many blue tents in my lifetime because I've been to many of games, soccer, football, and lining up the sidelines, all these big old tents. We live in Florida, keep the sun off your head, especially the size of this thing. But the blue tent, right, and the significance of what this thing is. Everybody's holding their breath. The blue tent got a coach fired and fined pretty much for the Giants, trying to get Mr. Dart back on the field, sticking his big old head inside the blue tent. To me, it's just another thing that the NFL has gotten right. Because, again, from two different sides. One, obviously, you're trying to protect the players. This is the real side of it, right? But 2, everybody's talking about the blue tent, and it's kind of cool, right? We're all waiting. Oh, no, is he going to the tent? Oh, no, did he come out of the tent? So, I don't know, just a goofy thing. The NFL and another one of their, innovative things that works on a lot of levels. So, for me, I think it's pretty cool. We got the blue tent. Something else we get to talk about when we do our podcast. So
you're part of the Blue Man Group. Okay.
And the irony was for the blue is that's not one of my strong colors. I don't really see blues the way you guys probably see blue. So yeah, no. But at least from what I'm told, it's a blue tent, which is kind of cool. So.
My number 2 on my list of the playoffs and NFL games, I'm going to go with a rivalry. Everyone remembers this as football fans. The 49ers and Cowboys. Dwight Clark beating the Cowboys in Candlestick on the corner pass from Montana. Phenomenal game. They played some phenomenal games in the years. The Dion going to both sides. We grew up in the early 90s watching these teams beat each other up for NFC supremacy and almost NFL titles. You know what I mean? So those games just bring a lot of memories for me, very good memories. And that's my top 5.
Okay. My number 2 is, well, I'll tell you what it was going to be, and then I'll tell you what it really is. Okay. It was going to be the invention of fire. Okay. But I decided not to go that way. But yeah.
Okay, Will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what type of sports innovation do we think is probably the most important and significant that applies today? How about the invention of American football? Huh? If we never had it, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about it and being a bunch of assholes talking about it. Okay. So how about let's clap it up for American football. Okay. We win. All right. Yeah. Screw you, Europe. You could take your fucking football and you could shove it up your ass, you round bastards. Okay. We get actual football.
Canada doesn't play real football. They got the field dimensions all wrong.
I didn't say anything about Canada. I didn't say anything about the 51st state. Okay. I said Europe.
I love foosball.
We all love foosball.
Matt, you look like one of the guys that has a rod through its ass in foosball.
I'm the goalie.
All right, so let's talk about the Sunday slate of games, and we got the AFC, and that's a 3:00 game. We get the Houston Texans, could arguably be the game of the weekend, right? The Houston Texans, number 5 seed, taking on a number 2 seed, the New England Patriots. So Houston and New England up in Foxborough, and New England is going to give 3 points, and the over/under is 40.5.
Well, to me, this is all about Nico. If he is not playing,
He is not playing. He is not playing. He is out.
then Houston has no shot. And that's something because I like them and they were my pick going in all the way through. And it's tough to swallow what are you supposed to swallow? Crow? Yeah, I'll swallow crow here, I guess. Even though I don't have to.
You're supposed to eat, bro.
The Patriots defense really played well last week against the Chargers. And the Texans offense, it really hasn't scared anybody in the last however many half the season. Their defense has been their story. And now they lose probably their best offensive piece. I'm not feeling good about that. So I think the Patriots caught another break here. And I think the Patriots continue to roll. So I got the Patriots here in the under, even though it's a low total. The Texans going to have a hard time scoring. Woody Marks ran the ball well last week. Up until the point, he hasn't really been super efficient. He's been getting a lot of touches, but it hasn't really equated out to be good efficiency against us. You can't really use our defense as a barometer. So he had a good game against us last week. I don't think he'll have that success against the Patriots. So especially now, where they're probably going to be able to defend the run a little better, not having Nico out there. So yeah, bad news, bad times for the Texans in this game. I got the Patriots definitely winning in the under.
I'll go, Matt. I'm with you. Houston offensively doesn't really have much of a chance here, in my opinion. I think the Patriots defense is good enough to stop whatever offense that they may have, especially their running game, which seems to be right now their best option in their offenses, which is running the ball, considering that Nico is out. And Houston, their defense is awesome enough to keep New England in check. So I'm going to lay the points. I like New England. They're still my pick. So I got New England and I got the under.
I'm going Houston to be over. I think this is going to be a higher scoring game than people think. And that was very unlike Stroud to commit those turnovers against the Steelers. But he isn't playing well. We know that. But I don't think New England's defense is as good. So I like Houston. I think New England wins this game, but I think Houston covers. I think it's a very tight game in the over.
I think, if anything, this is going to be a push. I don't think they win by. I don't think that 3 matters. I think it's a push. If this was 3.5, I'd be okay with that, Mike. But with it being just a straight 3, a hard 3, if anything, this is a push, in my opinion.
We need to talk about in these games. It really isn't a factor in any of them except for the Bears game just being so damn cold. But other than that, I mean, it's like 50 in Seattle, 49, and what is it, 38 in New England. It's like, so just which I would prefer almost. I mean, we all like just the optics of the snow games, but I mean, ideally, you want them to be able to play football. And that's just my opinion. So at least this weekend, we're not going to have any real weather, related concerns, which is good.
Actually, we are the next game we're talking about.
Well,
Which
other than the low temperatures, like he was saying, is there any weather forecasted for this next game?
Maybe snow. I'm not sure.
Right. I think that's what he was saying, though, Mike, is that
Okay.
there's really no weather or wind or anything like that should
Right.
affect any of these games. The only one that might have an issue is the Bears game, which we're about to talk about because of the fact it's going to be colder than the rest. So going into Chicago at 6:30 at night on Sunday evening on NBC or Peacock, wherever you like to watch your TV, you're going to get the 5th-seeded LA Rams going against the 2-seeded Chicago Bears. And the Rams are going to be the one giving points here. The Rams are going to give 4.5. The over-under is 48.5. Big totals here.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, that is a big total. It's easy to say that, well, the Rams are not going to travel well with those weather conditions. They're not used to it and all this other stuff. Unless the winds are blowing and unless there's snow on the field, then I'm not going to really put much into that disadvantage for the Rams. I think if we just look at it on the surface, the coaching advantage here, it's McVay. The quarterback advantage here, it's Stafford. Those guys all had advantages over anything on the other side. Okay, so just
he's good. He's
sound.
Good. No, you're good. You froze there for a second. Yeah, you froze there for a second, and then you jumped back into frame. So it was almost like, yeah, you're good now. You're good.
So in terms of skill position players, go up and down the board. I mean, other than the running game of the Bears, which is very good, there's on the Rams. So, that's a big number. And the Bears have won in consistent fashion this year from behind and been able to come back on teams consistently, game after game. That's tough to do. When you're in those situations, as you get further into the season, you're playing the best teams that are left. And we know the Rams can play both sides of the ball. So they can get hot on defense and make plays, create turnovers, and certainly they get put points on the board. So both of those scenarios to me just tells me at least maybe the Bears still find a way to win this game because of being at home. Maybe the elements do play a small part. But the 4.5 points is a lot, and I'm going to take it. So I'm on the Rams, and I think there's points in this game. You saw the Bears offense score in a game last week with worse weather conditions, I feel, could be for this game.
Matt,
so Rams and over.
The Rams are given points.
Oh, minus 4.5. I'm sorry. You're right. So it doesn't matter. I'm laying the 4.5.
Right. I just want to make that clear.
Sorry. I'm laying the 4.5 points. Yeah.
So, and you got the under?
I got the over.
Okay. I thought so. All right. Boy, the cardiac cats, the cardiac bears, right? Bengals kind of gave up that cardiac cat name and gave it to the Bears, it seems like, coming from behind and winning these games all the time. I think the magic is over in Chicago, right? They've had a good season, but you can't consistently keep winning games from behind or relying on the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter to wake up and decide you want to play some offense. I think by that time it's already over because LA is probably going to bury him by then. And people keep talking about the cold and everything like that and how is Stafford going to adjust. People seem to forget that Stafford lived in the NFC North. And even though he played in a dome, he had 6 games a year where he played outside at that point in time, because I think Minnesota at that point in time was still outside as well. So, um, I think he's going to be fine in the cold. It doesn't seem like it's going to be frigid anyway. It's only going to be 20. That's not terrible playing. It's still cold, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's going to be much of a factor. I got the Rams. I think they're the better team. I think they're all around the better team. So I'm going to take the Rams. I'm just not so sure on the 48.5. I'm going to take the under in this game.
I think the Rams are going to win this football game, but they worry me a little bit, especially with the end of the year collapse a little bit of losing the division lead, and then last week against the Panthers. Given the Bears 4.5 in Chicago, I'm going to take the Bears in the points in this one, and give me the over in this one.
All right, everybody's in. We just need to make our defensive picks in these games.
All right, defensive score for me is. I think that's been the story. That will be the story continued on, is how few points the Patriots allow in this postseason in their march to possibly the Super Bowl. I think they give up 3 last week. I don't see there's the path where they could do the same this week. So we'll
So
see.
you got the Patriots in a defensive score.
Yes.
Okay.
I am taking just the opposite. I'm taking the Texans in the defensive score.
I like that.
And I'm going to take, because again, I think that Denver is going to not play as well. It's a kind of a collapse. I'm going to take the Bills as my Buffalo score, as my defensive score.
Mafia, go.
Yeah, I'm on Bills Mafia right now. We'll see what happens next week if they advance like I think I will. But that brings us to our top 5 to finish out the top 5. Our number ones.
All right. One of my favorite ones. I'll tell you why. Now, we talk a lot of football. This is a football show. But you guys have probably understood this by now. My true love is baseball. I'm a baseball guy. The numbers, the sport, played it. Lucky enough to get a little college experience in it. So it's been a big part of my life. But I could tell you that in 1974, I was only 4 at the time, so I wasn't aware of this then. But the importance of one particular medical innovation, surgery in particular, that came into play that pretty much revolutionized the game of baseball for pitchers, in my opinion. 1974, Dr. Frank Jobe did a surgery on a pitcher named Tommy John. Tommy John was a left-handed pitcher, pitched in the major leagues for a long time. I want to say he pitched for 20 years, which would have not been possible if he hadn't had this specific procedure. The procedure is called the Tommy John surgery, named after Tommy, who actually was the first one to do this surgery. And it deals with basically reconstructing the damage. It's the ulnar collateral ligament, the UCL in your elbow. Now, in today's baseball, these pitchers have this particular surgery, and the recovery time years ago was a 1.5 or 2, and then there was question marks on their availability and how good they were going to be once they came back. Not today. Today, it's 18 months, and you come back as the Bionic Man, because you come back better in probably 99% of the cases than before. I mean, considerably better. Guys going into the surgery throwing 94, 95, now coming out of the surgery and throwing 98, 99. So the medical advancements across the board in all of sports has made our products, football, baseball, hockey, all the majors and others, just better. Because if the athletes aren't on the field, then you're not getting the best product you can. And like I said, these pitchers, not only are they coming back better, but they're extending their careers for years and years, potentially. Some guys even have to get the surgery twice, and they do the same thing, come back and extend their careers. So thanks to Dr. Frank Jobe in 1974 and Tommy John, again, revolutionized baseball, medical miracles, essentially, to keep these guys on the field. So for me, that would be my number one.
Okay. Well, I'm going to stick with my top 5 memorable games. I'm going to go with our last Super Bowl, the Steelers and Cardinals. 2 of the greatest plays in Super Bowl history, one on defense, one to win the game. James Harrison steps back, picks up a pass, and rumbles 100 yards for a touchdown. Amazing. He's running out of gas. Larry Fitzgerald almost catches him. He tumbles into the end zone for a touchdown, changing the scope of the game because of the Rams' touchdown there. Who knows what happens? The Rams go in with a lead at halftime, or cut the lead, I'm sorry. And then the Steelers come back at the end of the game.
It was the Cardinals, not the Rams.
I'm sorry, the Cardinals, right. Santonio Holmes. Ben, what a play. What a drive to begin with. And what a play. He missed him on a play earlier and then came back to him and toe tap. What a catch. I mean, after Larry Fitzgerald scored a touchdown right down the middle of our defense to give the Cardinals the lead. Unbelievable game. Like I said, I think that was voted the best play in Super Bowl history, if I'm not mistaken. Ben's pass to Santonio Holmes. So
In that game, obviously, was another huge one too. You know, I mean, didn't he bust off like a 60-yard run or something like that in that game? I remember.
Who?
So fast Willie Parker.
No, that was against Seattle. Seattle
game. You're right. Sorry, that was the Seattle game.
Yeah.
You're right. Sorry.
Yeah, Matt, try to keep up here, okay?
I got excited. I'm sorry. You said, I'm thinking about, oh my God, what last Steeler victory playoffs? What was that? What decade? So I totally got confused. Makes sense.
Yeah, it was the last decade. It was almost the last millennia.
I know, it's insane. So.
Mine for me, Matt, I'm gonna stick with your sport because I'm not a baseball enthusiast and I'm not a baseball purist. I live in a town where baseball is next to soccer, and it's actually the baseball is next to basketball in Pittsburgh, which if you don't know now, you know. We don't have a basketball team in Pittsburgh. That's how low baseball is in the city of Pittsburgh right now. We have an owner that doesn't like to spend money, even though he's starting to surprise us this year, which is great. So we'll see how many hearts he breaks by the end of the year. My guess is probably going to be all of them. But in terms of the whole entire sport, I used to turn it on to take a good nap, right? I would turn on the game in the first inning, and it would be 5-0. The Pirates would be losing 5-0 in the first inning, and then I'd take a nap, and then the game would still be on and be at the 6th inning, and I took a 2.5-hour nap, and it was still at that point in time it was probably 10-1. But my point in all of this is that the pitch clock, probably the single greatest thing that baseball has done since the invention of baseball, was invoke the pitch clock. It takes games now from 4.5 days to play to 2.5 hours to play, which is awesome. I don't like having a suspended game due to the fact that they've played for 24 hours and then re-pick it back up 3 weeks later and play a doubleheader to finish that game because it took too damn long. Now they could finish all their games if they have a doubleheader in about 6 hours instead of 24. So the pitch clock to me is probably one of the single greatest inventions that they've done for a sport, probably in the last 100 years, minus creating new sports.
I agree with that 100%. Pitch clock's been good, but I will tell you this, as the baseball purist and the baseball fan, I do miss a good Sunday night game with John Morgan. I'm sorry, with John Morgan on a Boston Red Sox New York Yankees 4.5 hour marathon on a Sunday night. That is just good announcers, good drama. It's Poppy and it's Mariano, and it's just that was good baseball. That was you could do that for 4.5 hours or whatever the case may be, or at least I could. But it's maybe just a little bit different today, and I get it. I understand. I don't mind 2.5 hour baseball games. I really don't. So
Well, again, on today's world, it's where's the gratification? I want gratification and I want it now, right? So I want the most gratification as soon as possible. So having 10-hour baseball games is just not ideal in today's world.
What's good about
go ahead.
they're starting to embrace the technology of it, like you alluded to before, and about how now everything is on launch angles and exit velocities, and they're creating that within the game. You can see that at the ballparks. It's all up on the scoreboard. So they're trying. I mean, again, it's baseball. It's not a constant grind of whatever. It's bursts and it's little whatever. It's a different sport. So I get it. You're right. The pitch clock is a hit. It's a win. This year you have electric umpires essentially calling balls and strikes. So now you have perfection in the game, which is the most. Right. Yeah. So
we get Bicentennial Man coming and call baseball games. It's awesome. iRobot. Where's Will Smith? Who cares? Let's play a game.
Right.
All right. So we're going to switch from the NFL because on Monday, if you don't know, now you know, there is another football game on Monday. And this one will wrap up the collegiate football year. And this one is the national championship presented by AT&T against number 10 Miami, Florida. The Hurricanes going against the Indiana Hoosiers. Indiana is undefeated, the only undefeated team left in college football. And IU, Indiana University, is going to give 8.5 points to Miami. And the over-under is set at 47.5.
Too many points. Defense is good. And I know Indiana's been rolling teams right now, but I don't think they've faced a defense like that the way they've been playing. I mean, Miami, we thought they had, at least I thought the talk was that maybe they're limited on offense. They're similar to like Houston in a way in terms of they play in the NFL. Lights out defense, don't make mistakes at the quarterback position, and such, just get wins that way. But Indiana's been a beast. But again, too many points. Give me Miami, give me the over.
Give me the top team. Give me the top team that's been the top team the entire year until they prove to me that they can't be the top team no more. Give me Indiana. I don't care by a million. I don't give a shit. Indiana has taken teams that everybody has thought that should slow them down, and they've decimated them. The only close game that Indiana has had all year, well, second close game that they've had all year, was that Ohio State game, which put up the most fight for them. And ever since then, they've never looked back. They've been piling it on every chance they get. Give me Indiana. I'm taking the over.
So I'm torn here. I think this is the best defense that Indiana may have faced all year, especially with 2 number 1 picks on defensive line from Miami. But right now, they're a train. Indiana is a train right now. I don't think anyone's going to stop them. I'm with you, Chaz. I just don't see anyone beating them. And half's a lot of points, but Indiana can put up points in bunches. So I'm definitely going with Indiana. Give me the Hoosiers. The under though.
So you just got done talking about how Indiana could put up points in bunches, and then you're going to take the under.
I don't know because Carson Beck hasn't hit these points. can run him. So,
That was fantastic dialogue there, Mike. We didn't hear a word you said.
that's because you're a dumb horn.
It was not because of the horn, you dipshit. It's because you're over there making out your microphone. That's why. So, since this is the last game of the year, Matt, you've already won the Superdog Challenge. We're just going to go ahead and have fun. Obviously, Matt, you're on Miami. Why don't you go ahead and pick the final score?
Final score is going to be Indiana 28, Miami 23.
Okay, so you're still taking Indiana to win, but you got the points to cover. So, but 28, 23, you said? Yeah, okay. Mike?
Give me
Winner
give me
and score.
Indiana 30 to 13.
30 to 13.
Yeah.
Okay. Also for me, Indiana, and I'm going bogus. Give me Indiana 52 to 10.
Wow.
Listen,
That's a big one.
that's a big one, but we've seen it before. We've seen
Yeah.
a score like this before in a national championship. And that's how much I think that Indiana can beat this team by. So, again, they've been on a roll all year. They had some hiccups. One against Penn State, which they almost lost. They won by a toe and a blade of grass, essentially. And they outlasted a marathon defensive battle against Ohio State in the national championship, and after that, it's been no contest ever since. So I just here's the hell with the standards. The Steelers need to go and get Kurt Signetti to come up here and be a head coach, and then we'll all be happy for the rest of our lives.
I was going to ask you that. Is that a possibility?
Mike, everything's a possibility. Will it happen though? I don't know, because you can already guarantee that his buyout is probably 70 million plus. Then on top of the yearly that they're going to have to, the Roonies would probably have to put out 200 million to get Kurt Signetti to come to the NFL.
That's not happening. Right.
You think about it though, right? Because John Harbaugh is set to get a 5-year, $100 million deal from the Giants. All right, that's
Wow.
almost completely set in stone. It's 20 million a year. He's going to be tied with Andy Reid for the highest paid head coach in the league. There's no way you get Kurt Signetti out of Indiana without, number one, obviously paying his buyout, which has got to be up near $70 million. And then number two, paying him 120 or 110 to make him the highest paid head coach in the National Football League for him to consider coming out, in my opinion. If his contract was a newly done deal with 7 years and I think what was it 115 million or something like that, if he didn't just sign a brand new deal, I think this would be a possibility. But the fact that he just signed a brand new deal, I don't think 2 or 3 more years I can see him jump into the NFL. Right now, not so much.
Yeah. He has that Pittsburgh background in him. So that's
Again,
interesting.
it would be very enticing for him to come back home. He coached at IUP, right?
Right.
And that, I hear some people too talk about Mike McCarthy as well being a candidate for Pittsburgh. In a movie type scenario, yeah, it would be nice to have a hometown guy come and coach our hometown team. Do I think it's going to happen though? No, I don't. Again, the Steelers are what they are. They're a creature of habit. They like to stay in one particular lane. I think they do what they always do. They have a type. They're going to go and do that type. So there's my opinion on that as well.
Do you guys have a thought of who the next coach is going to be? I mean, right now, do you have any inkling of who you think we're going to hire?
Yeah.
I think Jesse Minter myself.
I think he's going to be a defensive-minded coach in his mid-30s.
There you go. There you go.
Whoever,
Yeah.
whoever that is, and I don't know.
Right.
But again, I'm excited for it. I think everybody should be excited for it. It's something new. Um, you know, there's nothing here saying that they couldn't hire a Jesse Minter, like you said, Mike, and then hiring a Brian Flores and a Nate Schillhouse as the OC, right? There's nothing saying that they can't do that. Will it happen? Probably not. But there's always that possibility.
I honestly think that Flores will end up in more as head coach.
What's that?
I think that Flores ends up in Baltimore as a head coach.
Flores, yeah. I don't think there's any chance that Flores doesn't get a head coaching job somewhere.
Me too. Yeah. He seems to be that hot name on the circuit right now.
Right now, I think he's probably now that Harbaugh is gone, I think he's probably the next to go.
Yeah. True.
And then there's still Raheem Morris out there. That obviously the Steelers haven't requested an interview with yet. Not saying that they won't, but they haven't yet. So he's still out there. He hasn't really, you haven't really heard his name much. So it'll be interesting. It's just going to be interesting to see where any of these guys go, to be honest with you, because there's a ton of guys out here. What's actually funny is people talked about Kevin Stefanski coming to the Steelers. He knows the team. He's prepared against them for the last 5 years. He's a 2-time coach of the year. Talking about a coach that was able to pull bullshit out and get gold out of it. It's just that his owners and his organization didn't really back him up at all. They went out and bought a quarterback who, for all intents and purposes, was dog shit. And Deshaun Watson, who barely ever played, and when he did, he was god awful.
Yeah.
So if anybody on this list right now deserves praise, it's probably Kevin Stefanski and what he was able to do in Cleveland. And this is just typical Cleveland. Take one of the best things that you have and get rid of it.
Well, the only way to get that is where he lands and whatever future success he has or doesn't. So certainly it'll be easy to say where he came from was not the best place.
Right. And I think that's kind of hindering probably his possibilities, is the fact that he was the Cleveland Browns head coach for 5 years and couldn't do anything with them. That's probably going to have a negative connotation hanging over him with some of these teams. I wouldn't be surprised, and I think it's going to happen. He's going to go NFC. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Kevin Stefanski in Scarlet Red over there in Arizona.
You think he gets a head coaching job?
Yeah.
I'm more along the thinking that he gets the OC job.
No, I think he stays head coach. Being a 2-time coach of the year in the last 5 years, I think that's going to hold a little bit more weight for him to stay as a head coach rather than revert back to an OC.
True that.
So,
all right.
Yeah, I was just about to say, is there anything else that anybody wants to talk about? Anything you got on your mind?
I think we're good, man.
Yeah, I think we are too. So, with that being said, probably not going to have a Tuesday show anymore. We're probably looking only at Fridays, considering the fact that we're down to so little football from here on out. Essentially, 2 weeks left of football. If you want to call the Pro Bowl games football, then 3 weeks. But if not, if you're like us and you don't call Pro Bowls football games, then it's just 2 weeks with a break in between. So with that being said, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, come in and comment like J Ram did, and join the conversation. We'd love to hear from you. So tap on the notification bells, let you know when we go live, and that way you'll never miss an upload or a live. And everybody enjoy the last moments you have of football because it's almost gone completely. And we'll see everybody on probably Friday then from here on out.
Sounds good.
So with that being said, good night, everybody.
See ya.